just like to see somebody wake the hell up and get excited about the fact that your country is under assault. They're not at the gate anymore. They're in your bedrooms. They're in your living rooms. They're in your businesses. They got your data, dumbass.
Le who, the her.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Opinions Varied. That's Opinions with an A. Please like, share, and subscribe. And Michael Steele, calm down. You're scaring everybody. That's former RNC chair Michael Steele. Might as well be a full-fledged Democrat now, which he is. He's on MSNBC every night bashing Donald Trump because he gets paid a lot of money to do it. That's about it. Michael Steele's version of the Republican Party is so far gone. It's so far in the past, you barely remember it. Thank God. We're going to get into now how the Democrats are just on the wrong side of every issue. Is there a way for them to come back from this? Doesn't look like it right now. They are so against just anything Donald Trump that if Donald Trump said that oxygen was great, they would probably protest by putting plastic bags over their head. That's how twisted they are. We're going to hear from Harry Enten on CNN. He's going to do a poll about Ukraine. Now, Ukraine, the public opinion has shifted drastically, and we're going to get into that. And then we're going to hear from Jesse Waters, who's going to get into all the range of issues where the Democrats are just on the wrong side right now, and there just doesn't seem to be any coming back. Nobody better than Jesse Waters right now. So without any further ado, let's go.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has arrived in Saudi Arabia for negotiations with Russia over the future of Ukraine. Absent from these talks, Ukraine. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he will not accept the deal made behind his back. Be that as it may, what do Americans think about all this, and how has U.S. public opinion changed on this subject? One man knows the answer. CNN senior data reporter Harry Enten. When we talk about support for Ukraine, there's a bunch of different ways to ask about it, but it is clear there has been some movement.
Yeah, I think the real thing to note here is the trend line, Mr. Member. And just holy Toledo, look at this trend line here. U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. Back when the war began, back in February of 2022, it was just 7%. Up like a rocket ship. My goodness. Up now in February of 2025 to 41%. And the clear majority of Republicans, and of course Republicans are in charge of the U.S. government now, 62% of Republicans say that the U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. What a difference from just 3 years ago. I can remember, John, all those backyards in the United States with those Ukrainian flags, far fewer of them today, as Americans' opinions on Ukraine have changed dramatically. What about?
Well, they changed in the way on Democrats. Republicans mainly were always against sending money to fight this war that we are not involved in. That's how it's always been. That's what they're not saying here. Democrats have shifted. Those are people that probably flipped to Trump. They're sick and tired of spending billions of dollars to fight a war that we are not directly involved in, and where they can't say clearly how it will benefit us at home here in the United States.
Opinions of the Ukrainian president.
Right. You know, obviously, if you would expect changes amongst the public on feelings towards Ukraine, feelings towards Zelensky have changed also dramatically. Look at this. Confident Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Back in 2022, it was the clear majority, 72% through the floor. Through the floor by 2024, just 48% of Americans say that they're confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when.
Maybe if he put a real suit on once in a while and actually acted, well, he is an actor, if he actually looked like a world leader instead of a guy just coming home from the gym every time he meets with the president of the United States, maybe that would change a little bit, but probably not.
When it comes to world affairs, and GOP confidence has also plummeted dramatically. Now the clear majority of Republicans are not confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Really a real trend line, ones you rarely see in the American public when it comes to Ukraine and Zelensky. Confidence in both going down through the grade.
Look, some allies of President Trump have targeted Zelensky with harsh criticism over the last few years, and it could be that that's having some impact here.
Absolutely. The Republican establishment, the Republican electorate has moved as the Republican establishment and Republican leaders have moved on.
All right, let's talk
because we're sick and tired of paying for this nonsense. We're tired of it. While we have people that can't get help in North Carolina, people that couldn't get help in Maui, people that couldn't get help now in the Palisades in California. There's no money for anybody, but we're sending billions and billions of dollars, it seems like every month when Joe Biden was president, over to Ukraine.
The idea of a peace deal, and again, the way you ask this matters, but go ahead.
The way you ask it is important, so we can talk about this a little bit. So the poll question essentially is, do you support a Russia-Ukraine negotiated peace deal? The vast majority of Americans, this is what they want. 78% say that they support this idea versus just 16% oppose. Of course, as we were talking about, does this question actually get at what's going on right now? I think you would say that it probably does not necessarily get what's going on right now.
No, the question asked, do you support a Russia-Ukraine negotiated peace deal? Ukraine's not there. at the negotiations in Saudi Arabia this week.
You know what? Ukraine, here's my thing with this, and everybody's saying Ukraine should be at the table. We're the ones paying for everything. We're the ones paying. It's almost like we have to negotiate the peace because we're the ones paying for the war in order for Ukraine to fight Russia. Without us, this war was over instantly. Russia takes over the entire country. So at this point, yeah, Ukraine, after we work out the big details, you could come in at the end. I honestly don't care. I just want this war to stop, and I want to stop funding it.
So the people were not asked this. And I do think, in general, if you ask anyone in any poll, do you support peace? Peace tends to rate pretty highly.
Peace.
You would think that, Zelensky would want his countrymen to stop dying in record numbers. And that goes for Putin also. But Zelensky cannot win this war. It's impossible. Ukraine cannot win this war. They never could. The only chance, like I said, they had was us funding them, giving them the weapons. They have no chance. They need this to end more than anybody.
Tends to win. You rarely get 78% of the country agreeing on anything. They do agree on the idea of a negotiated peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Whether the majority would agree on a Russia peace deal with Ukraine where Ukraine has nothing to do with it, that might be a different question.
I don't think it really changes it that much. I don't think like I said, I think they feel mainly like I just said. I really don't care if Ukraine's at the table at this point. This just needs to stop. The people need to stop getting killed. The money needs to stop getting sent over there. Something needs to be worked out. And it's not going to work out the way Ukraine and the media wants it. It's just not. They're not negotiating from any sort of position of strength at all, especially when you have Europe who doesn't want to pay their fair share of this. That's another whole issue. It's probably a whole nother 10 videos that you could do. But I don't think Ukraine they're not negotiating from a position of strength here. This just has to stop. And Russia is going to get some of the things they want in order for it to stop. That's what I think. But we'll see what happens. Now let's get into Jesse Waters. He's going to go into great detail on so many things that the Democrats are just on the wrong side of. And can they ever come back? I don't know.
Even the holiday weekend couldn't slow DOGE down. There was a huge exodus over at the National Archives. Persnickety librarians were getting DOGE'd silly. The Dewey Decimal System's next. It was Pink Slip City at the FDA, Medicare, and Medicaid. And the IRS is on deck.
These are foreign nationals who come into the United States. They use fake Social Security numbers. They use fake identities to steal billions in taxpayer benefits. There's no way to know until DOGE gains full access exactly how much money we're talking about. But over a 10-year normal budget window, you could be talking about saving over $1 trillion by clamping down on massive fraud in our tax and entitlement systems, including, again, those carried out by organized fraud and theft rings.
Are those the illegal aliens that are paying taxes, according to everybody on the left? Using those Social Security numbers? Is that what that is? Are those the ones that are paying taxes with identity fraud and all this other stuff? And by the way, if you could save $1 trillion over 10 years just by cutting out fraud, waste, and abuse in the IRS, wouldn't that maybe save the Social Security and everything else for us? Wouldn't that save it? The one that they say is going to run out for people like me and you who have paid in your whole life and now they're saying you're not going to get your full benefits in about 13, 14 years when you're eligible? Yeah, maybe that would do it. But for some reason, the Democrats think this is a bad idea. They think, oh, Elon Musk is going to have your Social Security number now. He already has it, moron. He ran PayPal.
Biden hired 87,000 IRS agents, gave them guns, and we're getting ripped off to the tune of $1 trillion. Because Biden had his sights set on America's real enemy, Pete Hegseth. Right before Inauguration Day, Biden's IRS audited Pistol Pete. Biden's son's a tax cheat, and he's auditing Hegseth, the incoming defense secretary.
How is that not illegal? How is that not illegal? That Pete Hegseth gets audited right before he's coming in? That wasn't targeted? The Democrats, I tell you, they are just a corrupt, violent criminal party.
Doesn't have enough on his plate, keeping America safe. So now Elon and Big Balls are going to audit the auditors and upgrade the software because they're using programs from the 1960s. Democrats are hysterical that Elon and Big Balls are opening up the books because they assume Elon will just abuse their power like they did and audit their political enemies.
Right.
You remember, like, Lois Lerner?
Tea Party.
And then she fried 24,000 emails so Congress couldn't investigate. Democrats leaked Trump's tax returns to Maddow. Maddow's like waving them live on TV. That's a felony.
And meanwhile, there was nothing wrong with those tax returns. What a moron she is, too.
And they're worrying about Musk? Democrats are already in prison for doing what they're accusing Musk of. Whose tax returns is he going to leak? Hunter's? He didn't file any. Almost 1,000 people have full unmasked access to taxpayer data. 20 of them are student researchers, basically interns, have access to your tax returns. Democrats don't care. They only care when the guy who has access might find fraud.
Yeah, might find fraud, might find who the kickbacks are going to, might find out who's stealing, all that stuff. And by the way, I've said this before. Yeah, Becky at the doctor's office, she has your social security number too. And like Jesse Waters just said, there are thousands of government employees that have access, and they're all unelected, and they have access to your entire life.
Like all good detectives, DOGE is following the money. Next up on the list, Fort Knox, home to the largest gold reserve in the country, and we go years without sending inspectors in. How much gold does Fort Knox hold?
Maybe we should ask Simon Says from Die Hard 3.
Good Lord.
Yes.
Only one way to find out. This all happening while massive amounts of gold bullion are being flown in from London vaults. It can't all be because Judge Jeanine's going jewelry shopping, can it? Dozers are still sniffing out the bacon. Here's what they found this weekend. $35 million for a gender equality and women empowerment hub, a girl hub, where women hang out and pump each other up. Sounds like a sorority. $29 million to strengthen political landscape in Bangladesh. That is so generic. It could be anything. Strengthen the political landscape. It's vague for a reason. DOGE says we spent $21 million for voter turnout in India. Now imagine if the Indian government spent $21 million for voter turnout in America and Trump won.
Is this stuff you want your money spent on, everyone? You realize the numbers we're talking about here? And they're thrown out just flippantly, right? 21 million, 2 million, 15 million, 35 million, 35,000. Do you realize what this money could be doing for our country within our borders? You realize how, like, what would your school system, wherever you live, what could your school system do with $21 million? How many roads could be fixed in your town for $21 million? How many bridges could be fixed with $21 million where you live? Hey guys, if you're still watching, I really appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the like button right now. Subscribe. I do one video a day at least. If I don't do one video, it's because of circumstances that were beyond my control and I couldn't get it done. But please like, share, and subscribe and help me grow this channel. I appreciate it.
When they do it, it's election interference. When we do it, it's strengthening the political landscape. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. What are we doing? Giving pep talks to Africans before they cast ballots? You got this. We got this. It's going to work this time.
Yeah, that's like in the movie Dave, when Dave is sitting at the table in the in a meeting with his cabinet, and he calls on, I forget who it was, the Department of Transportation, and the guy was like, "Huh? Oh, I didn't expect to be called on." And the guy says, "We're trying to cut money because we want to save a homeless shelter." And he asked the Department of Transportation guy, "We're spending money, millions of dollars to try and make people who already bought their car feel better about their car." There was a movie, and it's got its leftist tropes and all that stuff in it, but a lot of it now is true. They had Charles Grodin. He played the guy as accountant who went in and basically looked over the books like Elon Musk is doing right now.
Why are we spending so much money on other countries' elections while we're still counting votes in California? Those also found $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. Mali's run by mercenaries and plagued by ancient ethnic warfare.
Why are we sending them a dime?
Not to mention landmines, torture, sexual violence, and child marriage. I'm sure that $14 million is just what Mali needs to be socially cohesive.
Yeah.
And $2 million to help Kosovo and Egypt recycle. We don't even recycle here. What are we, just buying them blue bins? We just bombed the bejesus out of Kosovo, and now we're telling them to recycle.
Yeah, recycle those bomb fragments.
A new report says the government's already nearing $1 trillion in the hole for the year. Democrats should not fight this. Their boys, Bill and Al, were for DOGE before DOGE was cool.
Mr. President, if you want to know why government doesn't work, look behind you. The answer is at least partly on those forklifts. Is this the way it has to be? Well, the good news is that it doesn't have to be this way. We can cut it dramatically. We can downsize government by 12%, reducing the bureaucracy by 252,000 positions.
See, I've always said, and I've said it a million times in this channel, Bill Clinton of the early 90s sounds a lot like Donald Trump does now. Strong in immigration, pro-law enforcement, shrinking government. Now, did he do a lot of those things? No, he never really got it done, but he was saying them.
Just forklifting the fraud out of Washington. So what are Democrats doing? Sheryl Crow says she's selling her Tesla and donating the money to NPR.
No one cares.
And rhinos are roaring at Democrats to do something.
Here's Michael Steele.
I just like to see somebody wake the hell up and get excited about the fact that your country is under assault. They're not at the gate anymore. They're in your bedrooms. They're in your living rooms. They're in your businesses. They got your data, dumbass. They got all your stuff. Elon Musk has his tentacles in everything you're doing, not just off of X, but now he's in the Treasury Department. He's in the Labor Department. He's in the Department of Homeland Security. And nobody seems to give a damn. So that's all I want, somebody to show that they care enough to get off their fat ass and say something about it.
Daddy, chill.
What's
Isn't that kind of not right to be calling people that? Thought that was something the Democrats don't like to do. Isn't that, shaming? Thought that's what that was. Oh, by the way, Elon Musk is a government employee, and so is everyone that's working in DOGE. So they pretty much are allowed to have access to that stuff, just like a lot of the other government employees we already talked about.
Steele saying is the Democrats believe the government's theirs. It's not your government, it's theirs. To them, it's like DOGE is auditing the DNC. So this is just another Watergate.
Oh.
They're acting like Trump
I'd love to audit the DNC. Wow. Wonder what we'd find.
didn't win the election, and he has no right to run the government. Instead of defending the taxpayers, the media is defending the government. Here's 60 Minutes.
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone.
That's called getting fired. Happens to a lot of people, Happens to a lot of people, especially when Joe Biden was president. But yeah, you didn't care about that.
Overnight.
All gone overnight for Christina Dry and Adam Dubard, fired this month in the chaotic shutdown of foreign aid.
They're not looking
Listen, just because you work for the government doesn't mean you have a job for life. Sorry to tell you.
for competency. They're not looking for if you're good at your job. They're looking for pure loyalty tests. And if you don't give it, you will be punished.
There was no process. No one explained to them why they were being relieved.
Yeah, it's called getting fired. Happens to a lot of people.
To my knowledge, they received an email, and then if they didn't leave the building, they were escorted out of the building.
These people got generous buyouts.
Yeah.
8 months severance.
Anyone out there, when you've all been fired at least once in your life, right? Everybody has. Did you get an 8-month severance package offered to you with full benefits? 8 months?
I'm sorry, but did CBS interview the fired Keystone Pipeline workers?
Nope.
The fired Army officers who refused the needle, or Black Americans who lost their job to migrants? No.
Nope.
That one lady was Samantha Powers' speechwriter. She's no random civil servant. She's the top flack for the USAID chief.
It's all script. It's all script. The media, it's a big script, all of it.
Just last week, this same lady told ABC she was pocketing her pride flags. The networks are using the same victim over and over.
DOGE was in the building. We took down our pride flags. I took out any books I felt would be incriminating. No one was talking. We heard they started taking transcripts automatically of all of our Google Meets. They unplugged the news in the little kitchen galleys. It didn't feel good. And then Saturday, all of the websites went down, and then I lost complete access to my computer.
60 Minutes is CBS's premier investigative unit. And they never mention the $20 million for Iraqi Sesame Street, or sex changes in Guatemala, or DEI operas, or all the dough spent on failed coups. Never mentioned it. We're $36 trillion in debt. We're cutting headcount, just like media organizations do to balance their books, just like Clinton and Gore did. Last week, Vance was in Germany and told the chancellor to knock off the censorship and step up their NATO spending. And the American media sided with the Germans and called Vance Hitler.
He was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that.
Before Marco Rubio schools her, I'll say this. Hey, moron, Margaret Brennan, you're the worst of the worst right now. Free speech is what stops a genocide, you freaking moron. You take away the people's right to speak. That is how genocides happen. When you have no opposition, that's when genocides happen, you fool.
Censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none.
It was illegal to criticize the Nazi government.
Right.
It was against the law to tell a joke about Hitler, and he had a dumb mustache and one testicle. Couldn't joke about it. Newspapers were shut down, books were burned, radio stations were censored. Free speech didn't trigger the Holocaust. CBS's
the lack of free speech triggered the Holocaust.
Research team's too busy editing the Kamala interview to learn that. On the same day, CBS celebrated an armed raid in Germany because a guy posted a cartoon.
This is scary.
It's 6:01 on a Tuesday morning, and we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany.
They're with the Polizei. Yeah, you might as well have been with the SS.
Inside, 6 armed officers searched a suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. Prosecutors say those electronics may have been used to commit a crime.
A crime. Let's see. Was he making bomb? Was he doing bomb materials? Was he threatening? Was he going to commit some kind of mass incident at a school. Let's see what he was doing, everybody.
I'm posting a racist cartoon online.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
If somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody...
So he posted something that somebody deemed was racist, so that's why the police raided his house, broke his door down basically, and took his computer and arrested him. Oh, that sounds like a real democratic, free democratic country, Germany, doesn't it, everyone?
Somebody else reposts it or likes it. Are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because...
Yes, it is a crime as well, and we will take you all. I mean, this is might as well what we were talking about here. You might as well be back in 1934, 1935. That's where you might as well be right now in Germany. And guess what? In a lot of Europe. And that's what J.D. Vance was talking about. This is incredible. We need to stop normal relations with these countries until they stop this nonsense.
The reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it.
And she just sits there like this. A reporter from the United States like, oh, it sounds good. Man, I wish we could do that. I wish I could do that here.
Germany's letting migrants into the country who are committing gang rape. And they have cops kicking down doors over a cartoon. CBS is defending Germany, a country who started 2 world wars that cost millions of lives, and who tariff our automobiles quite unfairly, I might add. They're defending a country who boos our national anthem, Canada. Trump renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, and the media is defending Mexico. The media is defending the IRS. The media is defending cockamamie spending like millions for Egyptian recycling. Trump has the left defending the indefensible. The Democrats have become so toxic that Politico is warning them to just stay out of the way. Quote, despite this intense daily barrage of negative reporting, Trump's drive to slash the size of the U.S. government remains one of his most popular policies, and there's no sign of it stopping anytime soon. Trump's in the driver's seat, and Democrats are getting lapped.
Yeah, well, there you have it. I mean, can it be any more clear? Can it be any more clear how lost the Democrat Party is right now? Not to me, it can't. Not to me. Like I said, they're defending the indefensible. They're defending the IRS, the most hated government agency across all spectrums in the history of our country. And somehow the Democrats think it's a good idea to say, you know, we don't want anybody looking into that. Don't look into the IRS because Elon Musk might get your social security number. I mean, could it be any more weak? So you tell me, what do you guys think? Do you think that they ever stop and just take a breath and get their thoughts about how they move forward, or there's just a freight train that just won't stop, a freight train going right off the cliff? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This was a little bit of a long one. I appreciate you watching, especially if you're still here. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time right here at Opinions Vary.
Opinions vary.